Nearly 5 weeks, 5 shutout losses, and 8 games later, the Rangers got their first home win of the season. But did that start a revolution? Let's talk some Rangers hockey with Jonny Lazarus, who's on the Rangers beat and the host of the Hockey News. Johnny, I see you laugh when it came to the revolution, man. It got the first one. Who knows? They're a completely different team with Vincent Trocheck on this team. He's back from IR after missing the first 14 games. Is this a playoff caliber team with Trocheck in the lineup?
I've been saying since day one, Brandon, that they're a first round exit. There's no doubt that this is a playoff team. I mean, especially with the top six of Perreault, Miller, Zibanejad, and then Lafreniere, Panarin, and Trocheck. Obviously, that gives the team way more balance, and then you can actually move down players like Will Cooley, Connor Sherry, who we've seen in the top six. And, granted, those are solid NHL players, or at least in Cooley's favor, scored 20 goals last year. But when you put pressure on guys who are middle six forwards to produce and play those top 6 minutes, it just creates this imbalance of structure with the team. So to have Trocheck and Perreault, called back up for his first game of the year certainly helped. Again, I'll use that word, balance for this roster. But Vinny Trocheck specifically, having him back, you can just see how important he is to this group, not only in the locker room to be that voice of leadership and a guy who can settle things down, but just his pestiness, his ability to drag guys in. He's, battling with Michael McCarron, who's like a foot taller than him right from the opening faceoff. He's cashing in with 2 assists, could have had 3. Panarin's second goal, I think Vinny makes that play happen on the forecheck. He doesn't get credited with it, but he easily could have had 3 assists. He wins faceoffs. He gets to the dirty areas. He touches every single aspect of the game, and that's why Peter Laviolette loved him so much. He had Trocheck killing penalties, playing power play, 5-on-6, 6-on-5. He really does everything, and you got a sense of that last night. And the Rangers offensively didn't generate as much as they actually have in previous games, but it's one of those weird things where they're just it's almost like contagious when you see one puck go in. Mika Zibanejad scoring the opening goal off a great deceptive feed from Adam Fox. The confidence just right from there, it grows and grows and grows, and the Rangers felt it as that game continued to go on last night.
That snowball effect, and I just love the energy that a Vincent Trocheck brings. And I'm not saying that because he's my favorite player on the team, but being like that Draymond Green type guy to what he is for the Warriors, that's kind of how I look at Vincent Trocheck.
Yeah, I see it.
But you mentioned Gabe Perreault made his season debut. I mean, he's another guy that came in, made an instant impact, got his first NHL point off the assist on Laffy's power play goal. I like to say, don't introduce me to a vibe that you can't maintain. So how or where does he fit in with this team? And how does Mike Sullivan get the most out of him night in, night out for the rest of the season?
I think Mike Sullivan did a great job protecting Gabe Perreault last night. He played 14 minutes, so didn't play too much. There were some shifts in the first period. There was one in particular where Gabe actually had 2 turnovers in the D zone, which turned into 45 seconds to a minute of sustained offense for Nashville. And after Nashville actually tied the game at 1-1 on the power play, Gabe sat a shift. Mike Sullivan sent out Panarin with Miller and Zibanejad, where typically Gabe Perreault would be on that line. But after a goal is scored against you, that first shift after you're scored on is a big response. So you need guys that are responsible, that can generate offense. And to throw Gabe out in that spot, would have been a challenge for him. So I like the fact that Sullivan did sit him, let him take a deep breath after the team just got scored on, and you don't put pressure on a kid right away. So I thought Sullivan did a great job with that. Again, he only played 14 minutes last night, so it's not like he played a ton, but in those 14 minutes, he hit the post. He had a great scoring chance. He obviously has the assist to Lafreniere, like you mentioned, but Gabe is a very calm and composed player that can create off the rush. He's great below the tops of the circles in the offensive zone. And when he has an open look, for the most part, he'll bury it. He scored a lot of goals in the preseason. So he's shown he can score. He was lighting it up in the AHL before his call up. And I think with time, again, he only played 5 games before in the NHL till last night. So with time, he'll get more acclimated. He'll adjust a little bit, and the game will slow down for him. His speed has been one thing that he's been knocked for. So adjusting to the pace of the NHL is probably going to be the biggest transition for him. But after the next 10, 15, 20 games, you'll start to see that he'll be thinking the game one step ahead, just like he did at Boston College for the past couple seasons.
I'm going to call this next part the last take. The last take. Because,
Okay.
I lean on you to take me into the hockey world. I was a former football player. You're the hockey guy. So I love to talk about what the players are talking about in the locker room. What was the difference, I guess, team-wise in that win over the last 7 home losses? And do you feel like that win and that performance could be the start of a real turnaround or some sort of run?
Yeah, this is what I asked Mike Sullivan last night after the game. And I actually had a great conversation with Steven Stamkos of the Nashville Predators, who's obviously a very well-informed, well-spoken NHL veteran. And Stamkos, I asked him like what he made of the Rangers' struggles at home, because he's a guy who, is a notable goal scorer in the NHL. He's been around for a long time, and it just doesn't seem to make sense why this team is struggling to score at home. And he said it was just a blip. Like at some point, it's going to break through. This can't be sustainable, right? This team is too talented for things to continue this way. And I'm sure he didn't want it to happen against his own team. But last night, you just saw why hockey can be so weird at times, because the Rangers only generated 6 high danger chances, and they've been generating, closer to 9-10 per game. They're the 5th best team in the NHL when it comes to generating high danger chances. So last night offensively, it wasn't actually their best performance, but like Mike Sullivan said, if they continue to trust this process and stick to doing the right things they've been doing, eventually the pucks are going to go in. So Mika Zibanejad gets a breakaway last night in the first period. He makes a great move, granted, but they scored the first goal, and the confidence goes from there. That was only the second time in 8 games the Rangers had scored the first goal at home. Obviously, they've been shut out in 5 of them, so it's impossible to score the first goal when you're shut out. But when you get the first goal, it also just gets the bench a little bit, more uplifted. So that was big for them. But, back to Sullivan's point of just trusting that they're playing the right way and feeling good about their game, at some point it has to break through. And I thought both of Panarin's goals last night, those are pucks that typically don't go in on an NHL goaltender, but when things are going the right way, that's just kind of how the game goes, right?
So the vibes are still high on this team.
I think it has to be a little bit more consistent at home. Obviously, They played against a Nashville Predators team that was coming into the game on a 4-game losing streak. Nashville's struggled so far out of the gates. You'd like to see the Rangers maybe get 2 or 3 in a row at home, and then you feel really good. But right now, people can be confident that this is a playoff team, but I think there's still question marks on if they're going to be a contender, because I would not consider them to be a team right now that is bound for the Eastern Conference Final. Like I still think they're a first-round exit. But again, we're still very early in the season, and you never know what players that could be added, come deadline time or whatnot, and what guys can turn it around. So at least fans can have fun watching them play. I think that's the most important thing, because last year I don't think there was any of that.
Well, it was fun looking at that exposed brick in the background. I love the feng shui of the new setup.
The moving boxes are showing too on the camera. I got to put this room together a little bit today.
All right, man. Well, appreciate you hopping on with me, my guy.